Hi everyone, Vickieverlie here, Rock and Roll Prophetess. Today we're going to take a look at the full moon chart for March 7th, 2023. It's occurring at 7:40 a.m. Eastern Time, but times will vary. March 7th, big day, okay? Not only are we having that full moon in Virgo, but just a couple hours earlier, Saturn makes its big transit into Pisces. So this is really big news. And if you note, at the time of this full moon, it's still 0000. It still hasn't, it's just sitting there at that 0 degree. So it is initiating that very first entry into Pisces energy, of the Saturn energy into Pisces. Again, last time we had this was in 1994 through 1996. I've been saying all along, it's always good to check back on that time frame in your life. And if you're older enough, another time that was happening was 64 to 67. And if you were born during any of those years, you're having your Saturn return also, which is very significant. But in the meantime, here it is. It's the full moon in Virgo, yes. And that means that the moon at 16 degrees of Virgo is opposing the sun at 16 degrees of Pisces. So that's always the case with the full moon. But the full moon is always making us aware. It shines a light, it makes us aware, it's culmination. So the Virgo is making us take a look at some of this Pisces energy. Now, in addition to, of course, Saturn's moving into Pisces, we've got the sun in Pisces, as is mentioned. We've got Mercury in Pisces, and we've got Neptune still in Pisces in its own ruling sign, as you know, that because Neptune, 12th house Pisces, all the same energy. But it's been in there for quite a few years here. And it's, Saturn is joining it as it's going to be transiting out in a few years too. So there's this major thing of the full moon, and then this culmination of this Pisces energy. And then here, Saturn a lot of times is the task maker, it's the taskmaster, it rules over time. So that's why it's another, when you look at these Saturn transits, it's always good to go back to these other times and see how far you've come, see how far you've come from those time frames. With the Saturn energy, with the Pisces energy, one of the things is, I was just talking about this in a reading, there's the pole, this is the poles that are getting activated here. We've got the axis that's getting activated, the Pisces axis and the Virgo axis. In past life readings, in soul journey readings, and Saturn is very much part of this soul journey kind of stuff. When we bring in Saturn, it's the Lord of the Karma. But the Pisces side of this opposition, they are the free spirits. They are the ones that get to go off and do whatever they want and be the free spirit and the happy wanderer. And many times they are also the drug addict, the alcoholic, and these types of things. And then the other side of it is the Virgo. When we have these free spirits in our life, somebody's got to be on the other end of it. Somebody's got to make sure that the bills are paid on time, and that way the groceries and the laundry and things get done, and these systems. So that's where the Virgo part of this comes in. And of course there's all kinds of shades in between. It's not always so polar opposite, black and white. But if we take it that way, this is the happy wanderer, the screw up, if you will, the free spirit. And this is the one that's got to take care of business and make sure everything's okay. So there's this back and forth of this kind of energy. With Saturn, you may become aware of some of these things in your life because Saturn can bring it to light. Saturn can show, the full moon and Saturn can show you where you have been weighed down by this. Where is somebody not pulling their weight? Yeah, it's great to be the free spirit and the artist and everything, but we live in a 3D reality where there are responsibilities. Saturn will show you those responsibilities. There are things that have to be dealt with, taken care of. Saturn is also karma, and the 12th house is karma. When I do your soul readings, if you are interested in the soul or soulmate reading, I look at the 12th house, I look at Saturn, I look at Chiron and the nodes, there's other things I look at, but the first place I go in a soul reading is to look at that 12th house, because it's the last, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, the 12th sign of the zodiac, it's the very last thing, and this is where our soul journey, we've decided we're going to wrap things up. Saturn coming into Pisces over the next couple of 3 years is going to be where we're going to wrap things up. We're wrapping up big cycles. We're wrapping up these cycles from these particular years. In the 20th century, it would have been 94 to 96, 64 to 67, and 34 to 37. So those cycles are being wrapped up, but also bigger cycles are being wrapped up on our soul's journey, with our soul work, with our past life karma and everything. And with these the way this looks to me, with these zero zeros, it's looking like fresh eyes. We're coming in with fresh eyes, these zero stuff. We're like looking at, and our eyes are wide open. That's what these little things are reminding me of. 2 little eyeballs. So we're coming in with fresh eyes. We're going to see things clearly. We're going to see things from a fresh perspective of what's transpired over the last 27 to 30 years. And this Virgo full moon illuminating this is really going to be helpful in that quest. I was going to say the quest for knowledge. Because Mercury is in, I was going to say in Virgo, but of course it's in Pisces at the time of this full moon. That engages our mental mind, because Neptune is not the realm of the mental mind. Neptune is the realm of the water, of the spirit. It's a different kind of area altogether, and it's many times it can be almost not a conflict, but it's just a very different kind of energy. It's our cognitive mind, which is the Mercury energy or the third house energy, is very much dealing with Virgo. It's the ruler of Virgo. Mercury is the ruler of Virgo, as you can see over here. Oops, this little thing made a little jump there, but it's the ruler of the 6th house at Mercury and Virgo. So it is a very mental thing. The combination of these two together, if we can get a synergy between them, because again, it's very different. It's opposites. It's opposites, and it's a square. If you take in the sign of Gemini, it's a square. We've got a square working here. So, although dissimilar, they can work together. And when they do work together, it can be just pure magic, is what the guides are coming through with. Things that have just been kind of floating around in the clouds, in the ethers here, these energetic waveforms, or in the water, that are convoluted, they can be made sense of, perhaps. It's also because the sun is there too. So there can be a cognitive resonance, is what they're coming up with. Let me write that down. Cognitive resonance. Cognitive resonance. I've heard that somewhere, maybe through the guides, but yeah, cognitive resonance. So a lot of times these might be dreams. This is a great time to really dive into those dreams too. If you can remember those dreams, get your phone, have it there. I find it so much easier just to talk it into my phone, voice to text, or even I just email it to myself, voice to text, instead of trying to break out and half the time, I always had that, keep that pad and paper by because this is Mercury, pad and paper, writing, speaking, communicating. Keep that pad of paper by your bed so you can write down those dreams. And I'd wake up half out of my, you're so groggy in the middle of the night, and then the pen doesn't work, and then I'm like digging into the tablet with the pen, and then you have to go back with the pencil and go over it so you can see where it indented, So nowadays it's so great that we all have our phone, and usually your phone is by your bedside charging while you're sleeping or whatever, and just grab it and voice to text, talk it right in there. Because these things, a lot of times they get away. Any of you have watched these readings or got a reading with me, sometimes I get stuff and it's like, oh dang, it got away, That's the realm of Neptune. It's subtle, and it brushes up against our 3D reality. And it brushes up in very subtle ways. It may just barely touch on the 3D reality. So when it does, you've got to grab it. You got to grab it and get a hold of it. And that can be difficult to do because it's water. What happens when you try to grab into water? It just slips right through your hands, right? It just slips away. And I'm hearing that slip sliding away. Slip sliding away. I don't know who does that song, but I'm hearing slip sliding away. This, with the Mercury being in there, the Mercury's swimming around in there, and the Mercury's taking notes. I'm seeing, here's the water, and here's this little Mercury guy. He's got his diver suit on. He's holy diver down there, those old-fashioned kind, and he's got bubbles coming up. But he's down there, and he's taking those notes. He's writing it down. So he's exploring the world of Neptune. He's exploring the realm of the imagination. He's exploring the realm of spirit. And while he's there, he's taking down those notes to bring back into the 3D world, to get that cognitive messages put them in a form that can be communicated through the 3D reality and through the 3D world. So it's a very powerful time, diving into deep karmic things, diving into deep spiritual downloads, all these kinds of things. It's also, though, in our personal lives, especially if you're old enough to look back, especially to this last time in 94 to 96, because what has happened is Saturn has taken a whole ride around the whole wheel over that time. So whatever you laid, Saturn will always lay foundations. It rules the bones in your body. It rules solid foundations. So whatever the foundation that you were, or you started, or you experienced, or you felt, or even your dreams from that era have come all the way around the wheel one whole time, come full circle. And sometimes I'll equate it to like a merry-go-round. So you've been around the whole trip on the merry-go-round, or the Ferris wheel even, and do you want to get, you can hop off. You finished, there's some karmic cycles that have been completed, for sure, especially too with the Pluto here at the 29. That's going to be the next thing, and the next reading we'll look at that. So you can hop off the wheel if you've had enough of it, or you can sign up for another ride around. If it's something like, hey, the last 30 years have been great. What I started in 94 was great. I love it. It's awesome. So, or you could sign up for another ride around the wheel, But no, whatever you're initiating right now, it's going to be roughly a 30-year cycle. At the very least, it's going to be a 7 or 8 year cycle, because that's how long it takes for Saturn to do these quarter turns. So that's a 7 or 8 year cycle minimal is what you're looking at with things initiated under a Saturn cycle. Because Pisces is such the realm of our intuition, our subconscious mind, besides going back to these dates again, it would be very beneficial to look at things from that perspective, going back to 94 to 96. So it's not only about, well, that's the year this happened. It's not so, especially with the Pisces stuff, it's not so much outwardly what was happening to you. Who were you on the inside? How did you see the world? What were your subconscious thoughts and feelings and emotions like at that time? How have they changed? How have you grown? Because Saturn wants you to grow. Saturn's not the bad guy. Saturn is initiating growth. Saturn wants you to grow up, grow into maturity. Saturn also wants you to reap the benefits of the rewards that are coming to you. Saturn is, think of Saturn as ruler of the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn isn't just doing stuff just because. Saturn wants to see those end results. Capricorn is up at the top of the wheel here, at the top of the chart, the MC. And it wants to wear that crown. It wants to get to that crowning moment. So Saturn is not just, even though it's in the sign of Pisces, it's definitely goal-oriented. It's definitely utilizing, I believe the keywords for Saturn and Capricorn is I use. So I use the energy of Pisces to benefit me and to make progress in my life and to see myself, get myself where I want to go. All right, there's a lot of that going on, but we can't ignore, look at all the Aries stuff too. We've got a huge stellium in Aries here. We've got Vesta, Jupiter, Chiron, Venus, and Juno, all in Aries. Now, planetary-wise, it's just the main planets, it's just Jupiter and Venus, but that's enough. This Jupiter-Chiron thing is very, very intense also. And all these things, by the way, I'm offering that Aries Ingress reading, and all these things will be addressed, including the Pluto into Aquarius will be addressed, and the Jupiter-Chiron. And at that chart, there's a Venus conjunct the North Node, which is also powerful. So there's plenty of, if you're interested in how these transits would affect your specific chart, then the Aries Ingress reading is available. But this is, the Aries energy is already showing up now before we get to the Aries Ingress, because Jupiter's in Aries, and it's been in Aries, and Chiron is in Aries, and they are in a pretty tight conjunction, and Chiron is in a pretty tight conjunction with Venus too. So Chiron is very much, it's the wounded healer, and it's about healing, repeating patterns, karmic patterns, over not only this life, but past lives as well. It's where we wound ourselves, it's where we wounded, and it's where we repeatedly wound ourselves, and it's also where we can sabotage ourselves, particularly in the sign of Aries, because the Aries rules, the first house is the self. So how have we, how do we, how will we, how are we wounding ourselves in regarding to Venus? So that's love and money. And then as far as Jupiter in expansion, growth, all this beautiful energy, and Vesta in feeding ourselves. We got to eat first. We got to feed ourselves. Here's another thing about this Pisces energy. It can be very dissipating. It can be like giving your energy away. So how are we, and another thing about it is how are we going to take action, because Aries is very action oriented. Yeah, Pisces is great. It's all dreamy and philosophical and creative, but then it's boots on the ground when we get into the Aries. So what actions can we take to heal? And as these patterns are showing up in our life, we're being made aware of them by the Neptune and the Saturn cycle now in the sign of Pisces. We're seeing these things that may have been hidden, which is another thing of the Pisces energy. What has been hidden may come to light. And then once it's come to light, then we can take action. Then we can, do something to move ourselves forward, to make our life more pleasant. Who are the people that we love? How is that karmic cycle also related with the Venus? How our love language? How have we maybe not been clear? We can be more clear, we can be more direct, but not in a harsh way, in a Venusian way of communicating and action, which is through love, kindness, creative expression. Venus is also money. Many of us sabotage ourselves financially. We do that. We have many of us with the Pisces energy too. When that shows up in your soul readings, a lot of times they'll show me like lives in the clergy. Many of us have had especially people who are doing spiritual work in this incarnation. Many of us have had lives where I just got chills all over. Where we were. I'm hearing the word cloistered. I'm not sure if that's really the right term, but that definitely came through, cloistered. Where we were involved in a monks or, different religious factions, or even, the old time shamans and seers and mystics and everything in past lives. And many times, especially through things having to do with the church, different churches and religion, there's this vow of poverty. And many people, grapple with that. Oh, if I'm a spiritual person, then that means, that I should be, poor or not have money, or taking these vows of poverty and chastity too, but vows of poverty in other lifetimes. We don't have to. This Chiron says we don't have to go by our old vows. We are forging new pathways. And Jupiter's here to help. And Vesta is also, it's the Vestal Virgins, but it also is being comforted, having a comfortable home, having a safe place, feeling safe and grounded in your home. And Venus also rules over money and love. And then we've got Juno here, the queen of the gods. So she wasn't hurting for her money either. She was living in opulence and abundance. So the guides came through with that. I read that if you want to go watch those excerpts from book 1. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to be doing that live anymore. I'm going to do something, but not that. That just isn't working out for me, sorry to say. But all of book 1, I did read aloud and expound on it. But they did a whole thing about that. Money is not evil. Success is not evil. Where does that shit come from? That shit comes from these past lives where we had to be this cloistered energy where, in order to be spiritual, that meant, that you weren't, and I see that too. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's at least one reader who's a huge channel, always goes on, well, I don't always, I've watched the video a few times, and this person is talking about how I never accept money for video, I never accept money for readings, like still holding that old paradigm as if that's a sin or something. Well, but then, this person also, their videos are monetized to the hilt. And I'm like, how are people falling for this when their videos are monetized? So if you're so pious and money to charging for readings is so evil or whatever, how you're trying to paint that picture, then demonetize your videos. Take the ads off your videos. See, I think a lot of people pay for the upgraded YouTube thing where you don't see the ads, so they don't know, but anybody who's putting videos on YouTube talking about they don't take money for their reading, for their services, that's they're taking money. They're getting ad revenue from it. So, you know, and that's also the thing that Saturn can do and Pisces can do too. Like try to shame other people. Try to shame other people, or, you know, this whole martyrdom thing, you know, oh, you know, I'm this, that can be the downside. Just like all the signs in the zodiac, there's an upside and then there's a downside. And the Pisces energy, you can swim upward, onwards and upwards. You can make great strides in spiritual growth. But on the downside, you can go down in the deep depths of sorrow, depression, martyrdom. So it's a you know, it's a balancing act to walk through these energies. It's not a sin to have money. You need money to survive in this 3D reality. It's not a sin to, you know, toot your own horn a little bit. Sometimes that's what it takes to get somewhere in the world. You know, sometimes Aries can be arrogant too, just like there's a positive and negative. You know, too much Aries energy can be really arrogant and pushy and bossy, but you have to, you need a little bit of that, you know, and especially in the world we live in today, more than ever. You know, in the olden times, maybe you didn't need money as much because you could live off the land, and you had farmers, you had neighbors you could trade with, and this and that. But for the most part, most of, at least the United States and most of the Western world, we need money to survive. So there's no, I'm getting there. If you guys are wondering, well, where's she getting that from? I'm getting that from this Chiron and Venus and the Jupiter too. It's okay to have things. It's okay to be comfortable. It's okay to you know, charge for your services. I hereby, the guides are coming through. I hereby break any vows of poverty made in this life or any other. I'm not going to be able to fit it all in, but made in this life or any other. I renounce this. You can renounce this. You could see how these kind of things have held you back, or whatever has held you back. You know, the Jupiter and the Chiron will bring that stuff right to the forefront as well, too. It'll show you how you've hurt yourself. Because we all are creating our own reality, and we all do hurt ourselves all the time. I mean, it's a human incarnation. Nobody's perfect. But, you know, we deserve to be here. We deserve to be prosperous. We deserve to have nice things and have a nice life and be comfortable. We deserve this. We don't have to be the martyr. We don't have to be the victim, the martyr. We can. Here's another dichotomy or difference between these two signs. Pisces may want to lose themselves in drugs and alcohol, or illusions, or, you know, even like, you know, video games. Some people, you know, are living in a fantasy life through their video games these days. Aries is not hiding away or anything. Aries is facing things head on, taking things head on, looking things square in the eye, boots on the ground. How are we going to deal with this? What action needs to be taken? Let's make a plan. Let's go forward. Not sitting around crying, I'm a victim, or sitting around saying, you know, whatever people are saying. They're action-oriented. So while there is this big influx of this dreamy, dreamy Pisces energy, and it can be of great service, we can pull this cognitive resonance thing, we can pull that out of the, pull things out of the ether, get those downloads, have those great creative breakthroughs, whether it's to something creative, because that is the realm of Neptune also, film, video, arts and everything, or is it just our own subconscious mind, our own repeating habits and things that we do, you know, over and over again, and without even realizing. You know, the Virgo full moon can help us scrutinize, really scrutinize, and really see with those eyes wide open, really see where we have fallen into this, where we are illusioning, there is an illusion, or we're even doing this illusionary thing to our own selves, or sabotaging too, you know, or, you know, not really dealing with things that have to be dealt with. Escapism. You know, there could be escapism with the Pisces. Again, that's the fish swimming downward. There's always an upward and a downward position. So, I mean, we're in a major time frame here of big changes. This is right around the corner. We'll talk about that in the next reading. Again, I am offering the Aries Ingress reading, but really what the Aries Ingress reading is a transit reading. So I only offer them quarterly, and then the rest of the time I just look in the regular ephemeris, grab your birth data, and do a psychic reading with the cards, pretty much. This is, if you really want me to do a deep dive into your chart, this would be the time to do it. That'll be available only till the end of this month of March. A lot of people are ordering. A lot of people order every year, but this time, because we have the Pluto changing signs, we have the Saturn changing signs, we have the Jupiter-Chiron connection. And another thing that's happening at that time is there's going to be the North Node in Venus at this 4 or 5 degree of Taurus. And we'll take a look at that as well. This is being called to our soul's path. So there's a lot to look at this changing time that we find ourselves in at this moment. The Virgo full moon can be really helpful for you to scrutinize and see where this Piscean stuff is working for you and where maybe it is not working for you. Maybe it's working for you because, yeah, you like to go and do your meditation and your creative work, and there's healing energy, and you know, there's so many positive ways. But maybe, is there somebody who is just a hanger-on and you're doing all the work? Aries energy will put a stop to that right now, because the Aries isn't going to put up with hanger-oners. They got fire under their feet. They got people to go, places to be, things to do. They don't have time to wallow in anything. They're not wallowing. And they're not guilt-tripping. They're blazing new trails here. Because this can be, that Pisces energy working on the Virgo energy can be a lot of guilt-tripping. Like, you owe me, or this or that. And sometimes, actually, there is past life. Maybe in the last life, you were the Pisces one who got to be the free spirit, and they were the, you know, you'll see that a lot, and especially if you have Virgo Pisces on your nodal axis, you know, there'll be somebody who's filling that other part, and it's been something that's happened over many years. But like my guides say, too, it's true you would experience everything, all aspects of a situation. It doesn't always mean tit for tat, though. So if you had an inkling or saw a past life, or you have this, you're compelled, like you feel like you owe somebody, think that over again. You owe it to yourself to be the trailblazer, to blaze that trail of your life, to be in abundance, to do the things that you want to do. As long as you're not, I mean, that doesn't mean, well, screw everybody else, I'm just going to trample all over them. Of course not. But it's not a time to make yourself small, or get lost in somebody else's story or their emotional dramas and everything else. Virgo's like, let's wrap this up, and then we're going to get down to the business of this Aries energy of doing what needs to be done, and what we've got to do here. Okay, so that is it. It's a powerful time. This is only the beginning of this. This is like the first event of this whole month of March of 2023 that is going to be super powerful. Victim no more. I just heard that really loud and clear. That's actually from one of the Michael Beckwith books. I remember in 2008 when I did finally close my family's bar. I know I talked endlessly about it, but it seems like as Pluto's been coming up to this, leaving Capricorn, I'm reflecting back, I seem to be really drawn back to a lot of that time, which was 2008. And that's that Pluto time. So that's when Pluto went into Capricorn, and now it's getting ready to leave. But after I closed the bar, you know, and the economy was crashing, where I was living and everything, there was boarded up houses everywhere. I mean, it reminded me of Back to the Future, when Marty gets off on the wrong timeline, where Biff is the mayor and the houses are all great, it's all bad. That's kind of like how it was around here. A lot of foreclosures, you know, a lot of boarded up houses with the signs with no gas lines cut because people were coming and taking the pipes and everything. I mean, it was really kind of scary time. But I would walk my dogs every day, and I would listen to audiobooks from the library on my Walkman or whatever the hell I had back then. And one of them was the Michael Beckwith, one of his books. I would listen to it over and over again, and he would say those words, victim no more. And that always just like gave me strength and gave me, you know, empowered. I felt empowered by that. So even if there's this illusionary thing, it's only temporary. You know, that's another thing that my guides come through with all the time when the whole COVID thing was going on regarding water, which is Pisces realm of the water and the ocean. Neptune, the king of the god of the water, you know, the god of the oceans. You know, they would say just because it's the water is rocky today doesn't mean it's going to be tomorrow. But sometimes with the Pisces energy, you can get really lost in that. You can really wallow, get lost. Let's go more. That's great to do, and there's great things that come out of it, like all the things I mentioned in the first part of the reading. But don't get stuck wallowing. Don't get stuck as the Virgo cleaning up somebody else's mess, who is a wallower, who constantly is screwing up, and you got to fix it, you know. We're moving. Aries Ingress is coming. All these planets, Mercury, everything's going to be moving into Aries. Jupiter's in Aries. Chiron's in Aries. And Saturn's not going to put up with this either. Saturn doesn't have any time for crybabies either. You know, Saturn does not have time for crybabies. Saturn's like, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, let's make a plan, and let's do something about it. Okay? All right. I know that was a lot there, but there's so much going on and so much to talk about. So here's that chart again, if anybody was just wanting to see it nice and clean. There it is. Powerful times, for sure. And it's trining the Uranus, too, so there could be, you know, shifts and changes unforeseen. New realities are forming every day. That's what the guides just came through with. Yeah, we're constantly we're forming new realities. So, again, don't forget about that Aries Ingress limited time. All this will be addressed as far as it relates to your chart, if you're interested. And a lot of people have been ordering it every year, but this one is really a big one because of these two big transits that are going on and some of the other things I mentioned. So check it out if you're interested. Thanks for everybody for tuning in, and you know all the things that you do by supporting me, my books, my decks, my wares. I have t-shirts, I have these awesome pillows. I forgot to bring it in here. But I do a lot of, you know, spiritual artwork, which is available on different things. So check it out. Doesn't cost you anything to hit that like or subscribe button, and that does help that YouTube algorithm. Your engagement helps me tremendously. Commenting, liking, sharing, all that stuff. I appreciate everybody who does do this on a regular basis. Remember that you are love and beauty incarnate. Have the best full moon in Virgo. We're going to really get some downloads about how maybe we've given our power away, and then how to take it back with using that energy of the Aries, and also the end of the Capricorn thing too. Lot powerful times that we're in. Okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk again soon. Bye.